Welcome Capricorn to your in-depth monthly horoscope for December 2023 for the Sun or the Ascendant. I'm going to give you some standout details to look out for. Please stay with me. I will explore in much greater depth all the ins and outs, particularly relevant to your sign. On the first day, Mercury makes its way into Capricorn, which definitely is a very positive thing. It doesn't come without some complexities because it rewinds from the 13th in a retrograde and inverts into the sign of Sagittarius on the 23rd. But we do have the winter solstice on the 22nd. The Sun returns to your sign, initially with Mercury, but of course with Pluto. This gives you an opportunity to supercharge your individual hopes. And also, as the year comes to a close, there's an awesome link between your ruler Saturn, but also Jupiter, the planet of hope. Please stay with me for more. Now, if you've yet to order your personal horoscope for year 2024, if you do so now, you can still get the rest of this year free. But also my special package, you'll get your character analysis report, your life roadmap, and 30% off, but also your year 2024 zodiac forecast for each of the 12 signs, but also Indian forecast for each of the 12 signs, and Chinese forecast for each of the 12 animal signs. Totally free of charge, those booklets. Please see the link below for more. So Capricorn, as you make your way into December, the Sun, initially Mercury for the first part of the day, and also Mars are in house 12. And I have to be honest with you, that's quite complex because having the Sun in house 12 is a natural thing that happens each year. It precedes the arrival of the Sun in your sign, which will happen on the 22nd with the winter solstice. And it can be a time of reflection where we just draw in a little bit and just think about what we've achieved over the previous 12 months. Can see us feel quite nostalgic, perhaps a little bit more sensitive. But Mars in the mix brings a bit more of a potentially turbulent vibration. Mars in the 12th house can stir up things that we thought perhaps we dealt with from our past. So has a tendency to at times make us feel a little bit angry or a little bit emotional, but not always in a way we're particularly sure of why. So that is a bit more tender. But despite that, the arrival of Mercury in your sign helps you to come into the moment a little bit more and focus on some of the plans that are important to you as an individual. Venus arrives in your sector of friendship on the 4th. What a splendid location for Venus to occupy through to the 29th. So if you are wanting to mix and mingle with the people you can really count on, because the Sun and Mars being in house 12 is kind of saying to steer clear of the people who are more likely to be your fair weather friends. But Venus moving into your 11th house pushes you towards the people you can really rely on. Now on the 6th, Neptune ends a really long retrograde, which has lasted for 22.5 weeks for you in your sector of everyday communications. But Neptune's been there since 2012. If you found relationships with neighbours or siblings at times a little bit baffling or confusing, or you felt very sensitive about those ties, it wouldn't be a surprise. And that sensitivity may have been heightened in recent months. But also this year, your ruler Saturn has been in this location since March the 7th and going through its own retrograde. So how you express ideas, your points of view and your values perhaps have been an interesting part of your journey in 23. There may have been some quite intense conversations, particularly with the aforementioned siblings or neighbours. But Neptune going direct is definitely going to be of a help to you, but Neptune does turn out to be one of the most impactful influences of this month. But that takes us through to the new moon of the 12th in Sagittarius, very close to Mars, but angling across to the North Node in the 4th house. You could find that what this particular new moon is about is really getting in touch with some of the parts of life that we don't always feel we have the time to grapple with. You know, we live in a very intense age. We've been being bombarded with information. Even if we want a quiet day, perhaps the phone won't be too far away from us and it pings with a message or an alert. So it's hard to get that level of disconnect and just go into a more healing vibe. But if you could give yourself permission, even this late in the year, to go and have a spa day with some good trusted friends, that would be very restorative. Or if you're really interested in understanding your motivations and perhaps even talking to someone about some sensitive strands, you can gain from this new moon for sure. But almost straight away, Neptune is squaring up to the Sun through to the 19th. So the 12th house can, as I mentioned, be about the people that we can't completely rely upon, the fair weather friends, but it can also be people that we actually are not actually that aligned to, or they aren't aligned to us, but we don't always know who they are. So they can be a bit hidden, secret enemies. And with Neptune being in the 3rd house, I would strongly say avoid all gossip from the 13th through to the 19th. It's not going to be good for you, because I feel that there could be a little bit of backbiting going around. And with Mercury going into retrograde on the 13th, that kind of adds an extra potential for misunderstandings. So in your sign, maybe there is something that you've been very eager to embrace as you've burst into December, but you could find by the 23rd, when Mercury returns to Sagittarius, that actually you need more time to cogitate on this exciting idea. It's not that it won't go forwards, especially early in January when Mercury re-enters your sign. It's more that perhaps you need more time to just adjust things a little bit more space to think things through. But from the 18th to the 23rd, despite that part of you wanting to retreat a little bit, there could be someone else who's really eager for you to come out to play. So a last minute invitation to get together with some friends. It could be quite a spirited evening. There could even be some kind of connection with someone romantically. Venus in the 11th house, is there someone in your circle that you are drawn to? Perhaps you don't know who that person is, but Uranus has a habit of pushing the truth into the open. However, in a long-standing romantic relationship, if you are feeling that sense of great sensitivity and you feel that your partner is not really understanding some of the things that you feel affected by, I feel this could lead to a frank exchange of views, particularly if they want to go out and socialise with their friends and are not as attuned to how tender you might feel. But that goes on from the 18th to the 23rd. 22nd, however, is really significant. Each year we have 4 cardinal quadrants, which begins with the spring equinox as we start the astrological year. It then goes on with the summer solstice, then the autumnal equinox, and then the winter solstice. So this is when the sun returns to your sign. But for us all collectively, we can think about the more material side of life and how we are doing in terms of bringing into reality the things that we may have set out to achieve earlier in the year. But for you, it's a kind of Aries energy, weirdly. A chance to be your normal, thorough, hard-working, applied self, but bring a bit more of a flourish and have the confidence to be a bit more individualistic. You are someone who has a great understanding of upholding traditions, playing by what's expected, but the sun now is asking you to be more daring, and there's going to be a further reason for that, and I will explain that shortly. But as I mentioned, Mercury does invert back into Sagittarius, back into your sign very early in January, but it could be that that plan does need more adaptation. But Christmas Day, the moon is in the bubbly Gemini. Guess what? Squared by Neptune. So once again, how you think and express your ideas does require a degree of care, because even inadvertently, someone could get the wrong end of your stick. But Saturn, your ruler, does forge a very impressive alliance with Jupiter in the last 2 weeks of December. Jupiter is very much about going for it, and in the 5th house, it doesn't really get much better. It's about demonstrating your talent, flair, creativity, and passion, and it can, through to the 23rd of May, bring some really significant breakthroughs for you. Also, ink into your diary the 21st of April, because Jupiter aligns with Uranus. Something very exciting can happen, therefore, in the late spring for you. But the angle of Saturn and Jupiter in the last 2 weeks of this year is also going to be repeated in the early weeks of 2024. Jupiter gives you that chance to showcase your talent. Saturn gives you the chance to structure things and explain things in a very clear way, despite the potential for confusion that Neptune can create. That brings us to the full moon of the 27th. If you are being very single-minded, the moon being in your opposite sign of Cancer, which it governs, could see someone saying, look, I feel that you're not focusing on me enough, but you then may say, but what about how you were only recently, when you might have felt a little bit cut adrift? But the great news is that link between Jupiter and Saturn that balance each other's excesses and create a very constructive alliance of steady, stable growth, suggests that you can discuss things through. It's about choosing the right words, but your enthusiasm will certainly help. The 29th, however, sees Venus move into your 12th house. So even though it's been very bubbly and very sociable to this point, but it joins up with the retreating Mercury and the advancing Mars in Sagittarius, your 12th house, and is squared by Neptune. So once more, we have a situation where words, especially with Jupiter and Saturn's help, need to be structured and thought through carefully. Someone around you or people around you could be feeling very sensitive. Maybe it's you. And the best way to choke off the potential for the misunderstandings is to make sure the conversations you have stick to the things that are really important, and avoid the people that tend to inflate the reality. Try to take a little bit of a germ of a situation and then really run with it, and it ends up being a big drama which you don't want at this time of the year. But what I hinted at earlier is that from the 25th through to the 28th, but exact on the 27th, the Sun and Jupiter are in a trine. Pretty well one of the best aspects in astrology. Sure, Jupiter is retrograde, but it goes direct on the 31st. Still going to be broadly in touch with the Sun. So as you go into this new year and the curtain comes down on year 2023, having an Earth trine with Jupiter in the mix with your Sun, it's as good as it gets. And it's really saying to you, despite the fact that there may be this stuff around you at times this month, where I feel like you could find out that one person or one or two people are not necessarily quite as sincere as you thought they were, which could be difficult to take. But as you come to the end of the year, despite the fact that there is that gathering of energy in Sagittarius, which is asking you to look inwards and to understand some issues that are more sensitive and find the solutions within your own self. So, for example, considering some of your own anxieties and self-doubts and some of the hang-ups that may have been just hovering around in the background for some while, and the energy of the Sun and Jupiter going direct on the last day can still give you an opportunity to roar into year 2024 very positively. But I think it does require all of this month a great attunement to the more psychological side of your nature, because there's such a lot of energy in the sign of Sagittarius, which is house 12. So just to clarify that can be the hidden side of life. it's a culmination point in terms of our emotional and spiritual journey. It could be pushing you to embrace those things more. You know, if you have lived in a more material way, to be more open to, say, for example, the more traditional values of Christmas based on, you know, just being with the people that matter, or doing some good works for people who are less fortunate, enjoying some carol singing, getting together around a nice warming fire, and not being so focused on the gifting and all that stuff, and more about just being in kinship with people who have good hearts. So just be cautious about who the company is that you keep this December, but as you come to the end of the year, you have an opportunity to catapult into the whole of 24 with one of the best possible aspects in astrology. It's been a great privilege to be with you. Thank you so much for joining me. If you are on your own on Christmas Day, you will be in my thoughts. If you're in company, either way, have a lovely time, and wishing you all the best for the new year. But for now, please like, comment, share or subscribe.